Hello folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my shitty looking greenhouse. But within this greenhouse and a few things around the garden that I would like to show you today, I would like to show you what's growing currently at the moment. So underneath this little bit of netted fleece like material, just to keep the worst of the cold coming through my terrible looking windows here onto these plants below, but I have some giant limousine turnips which I sowed last month in late February, and I keep them ticking over nice with a little bit of protected material. But these are giant limousine turnips that you can get from Real Seed, and you can see that in there there's two of them. So I might carefully lift that one out and put it into that spare compartment over there and see how it gets on. But I do have some things growing which I sowed in late February, and this is some limousine turnips, and you can see this one here has just reached up a little bit higher than I would like. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit of extra compost and just put some more compost around this little seedling here. But this little turnip is doing good things, so just put that back in its bit of position there. This turnip can now grow on just like the others. So I do have some little turnips here which are growing, which is really quite nice, and they'll give us a little something to pick in an early part of the year. So there's some turnips here which is really beautiful, and over here there's some more Kelvedon Wonder early peas, and I've got this little bit of glass as protection over the top, and I've used some insides of some fridge shelving to hook onto the metal part of the greenhouse here and keep me pea pots away from the mice and the vermin, so they don't dig them up and spoil me peas. But again, there's some peas that are pre-soaked. Put them into these 3-inch pots, and there is signs of some roots starting to come out the bottom. So when I see a few more, there's just one at the moment, but when I see several, I'll move these on for the first stage of potting up. And they say that you should only pot peas up once if you're going to pot them up before plant them into their permanent position. So I might put these into a much larger pot than this and just have maybe 3 or 4 in a larger pot. Let them get to the point when they're about 8 to 10 inches tall, and then plant them into the vicinity of the greenhouse here for some really early pea crops. But this is some early Kelvedon Wonder peas which I'm going to grow in here up this little bit of frame, which is something I eventually use for the tomatoes. But at the moment I'm just keeping the things that I got in here looking really happy. Some potatoes down there, and these peas are doing good things, so happy enough for those. There's some Kamatsuna over here which are a cool season crop, and you can sow them really late winter and then harvest them in the spring for some delicate young leaf crops. So there's some Kamatsuna there which I will be sowing again post midsummer for an autumn and early winter lettuce type crop. There's some Kamatsuna there, some peas over here which is D canny, and there's also some peas again suspended away from the floor and the mice in here. So some more peas to be getting on with, and as time goes by I'll be sowing more and growing them in the ways that I grow them. So when that time comes, I'll show you what it is that I'm getting up to, because I haven't got the ability to make edited videos on my phone. I just can post the things I can post here and there now and share with you what it is that I'm doing. So there's some peas in there which is looking nice away from the floor, which is very handy. And let's have a look at some things outside. Before we go out there, there's some more Welsh onions coming along in here, which is going to go towards the other Welsh onions that I've got growing outside. So there's some Welsh onions that are potted up, is some really late lifted plants. One of them there doesn't look too tremendous, but the rest of them look okay to me. And before long I will get these moved on, and I'll have some nice Welsh onions to harvest, some bunching onions, if you know what I mean. But they're looking okay, so there's nothing really much wrong with them as far as they go for now. And if we just look outside, this is something else I want to show you. Now this over here is a little bit of an old fruit garden that I had. There's a white currant bush that's really needing a bit of a prune back here, which is something I'm going to do, and I've started doing it. Give it a little bit of a prune there, but I'm going to allow these branches to grow somewhat so I can start off some more layered cuttings from this white currant bush here, just like I have done with this black currant over here. And the black currant in question I have layered in this rather crappy looking old box that is seen better days. But it used to be a little bit of a tea garden, but now it's just a little bit of an eyesore. You know, there's a dandelion there and other wildflowers. There's a nice feveroo here, which is really nice for making feveroo tea. But this is some black currants that I've layered, and I've done a very simple method. I've just took one of the elongated branches and I've weighed it down with a couple of rocks there. But you might want to use some metal pins to do this, but the idea is still the same. So if I just move these rocks a little bit, you can see the branch from this blackcurrant, and underneath here it is rooted in. So you can see a series of roots right here, but if I just move a few of these to the side, there'll be more roots underneath further. Sorry, I just got a little bit out of focus there, but there you go. There's a blackcurrant layered cutting right there from a branch, and you can see the roots that are coming from it. So this will just be snipped at this point, carefully lifted up with a trowel or a hand fork, and I'll be able to grow on another blackcurrant bush, same as this one right here. And again, rooted into the ground. Move a little bit of the soil here, and you can see some roots, and again it is rooted in and doing its thing. So that's something that you can do if you want to expand your fruit bushes. And this is something I've done right here in this really old and tired, unkept, not really looked after well enough part of the garden, but well enough to produce some more fruit bushes, which is really nice. So I've got one there and one here, and also a little one down here. Now you don't want it to flower at this stage, you want it to put its energy into producing strong roots and strong foliage. So any flowers that come on this, when I come to pot it up, I will remove and just allow the plant to put its energy into growing into a fruit bush rather than fruit production. So you can see right here that there's a little bit of a fruit bud right there. So I'm just going to take this away like so, and take away the other little fruit buds that are coming right here. So there's one there, so we'll just take that off, and the same with this one right here and this one right here. So I'm left with that nice little fruit bush with little buds coming on it, which is lovely. And the same with this one right here. In fact, this is the strongest looking one, so when I come to separate them, which I'll do a future little video very soon regarding this, but the bushes themselves are doing good things. There's all that young growth coming further down. So I will remove these stones and we'll cut this away here, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the 3 little fruit bushes that I've layered in. But for now I'm just going to put these rocks back over the top, and just allow them to carry on growing in this crappy looking area. And I'll show you some other ones that I previously done using this method. So if we just scan our yard, I'll show you these. There's some in pots in another part of the garden, which I did last year, and then I put them into pots and they've grew on to what you see right here. Please excuse the wind. And there's this one right here which needs pruned back, so I'm probably going to take this back by about maybe 2/3, so I might cut it back to this point because I want the bush to become a nice robust stout little bush with a nice firm stem and nice firm early growth. So cut this back to this point, cut this back to here, and cut this back to round about this bud right here. But there's another layered bush that I've got right here, and it's amazing what you can do with just one fruit bush, you know. And that's where this blackcurrant bush came from, right here, and this one over here, and also that one which is over there. So if I just carefully go over here, I'll be able to show you another one, and there it is. And there's also a little one coming here, which again is a layered branch from this one. So there's a nice amount of blackcurrants. Another fruit bush that I layered over here, and also one over here, looking really nice. And let's see what else I can think about showing you. The ryegrass is looking really nice, and now we're getting towards the end of March. I'm going to get this turned in very soon, but the ryegrass is starting to really start to grow nicely, and there's some Hungarian rye and then the mixture of Italian rye in there as well. But there's various ryegrasses in there which soak up the nitrogen throughout the winter, and then when you dig it in, you return that nitrogen to the soil so it's not leached away. So there's some nice nitrogen in there, which is something that I did previously over here, and it helped to grow these kale really well. So that's cool. And I've got to get on with some stuff, folks. You know, I've not got the ability to make long videos, and those of you who remember my old channel remember that I did used to make long videos, but I haven't got the capability to do that anymore. So all I can do is just show you bits and pieces and just give you a little look at my journey along the way on this growing year. But here's a little other look at me perpetual spinach that was planted late summer, and again some nice foliage to pick in the second half of March. So some more nice perpetual spinach here, nice tender leaves, really lovely pickings. Little bit of a issue with a slug there, but I don't like to use chemicals and slug pellets and pesticides. I don't want to poison my ground and poison the worms and the soil that I choose to grow my food in. It's my personal choice, but that's the way I do it. And I just take the goodness that comes. You take that home, a little bit of a hole there, pour in a little bit of salty water, and then you have some nice food. So there's something that's very special about that. The only thing that's been on that is rain and sunshine. No chemicals and nothing that's going to harm my health. So that's lovely. And while we're at it, I'm just going to pick a little bit more. So there's another nice little bit here, and a little bit more over here, and some more over here as well. So we'll just move the net out the way so you can see, and I'm just going to do some picking of some of this on the day after St. Paddy's Day. So if you celebrate St. Paddy's Day, which I did, Went out and I had myself a couple of Guinness. Then I hope you had a great time. Like, the power of the green, which is ironically what I'm picking right here. Power of the green all round. Yeah, folks. Some more nice picking. Some nice greens for tea. And there's some more kale still kicking about. I've moved some chives into this little bit of a grow box here, which is something that's really good for chives. Helps the roots to dive deep, and you get some nice chive pickings as well. So I'm just going to have a little nibble on these, like. Lovely stuff. The garlic chives in this raised box, growing really nice. Gonna have a little bit of a nibble on these as well. Lovely stuff. And then I'm just gonna hop by the little bit of a scruffy looking composting area next to these 4 wildflowers. In fact, I've done quite a bit of sorting out. There's some horse manure and straw to start making some new soil. Horse manure, cow manure over here. A load of leaves from work. So there's, just put this rock on the top to weigh it down, like, but there's some straw, leaves in here, some leaves here, and a couple more boxes right there, and some more leaves further down. All good for compost making, which is really nice. So I'm going to be busy on with that pretty soon, because I'm going to be out cutting lawns again regular. I've done a few already this early in the season, but I'm going to be cutting a lot of grass very soon, so I'll have a lot of grass clippings to bring down and start mixing with various things around the garden and start making compost, you know. So that's something that's been going on. It will be going on as you do. I'm going to let me Nero the Toscana black kale go to flower here so I can collect some seeds from it. I've had a word with the people around the allotment site who would like to collect their own seed, and this year it's my turn for the kale. So this is the kale I'm going to pick to collect seed from, so I don't have to buy them again. But even now, when they're just about to go to flower, there's still some nice greens to be had in middle of March. Lovely stuff. I've had to stake these up and tie them in a bit so the wind doesn't blow them down when they're going to flower. But interestingly, right, kale flowers make really good food as well. So if you grow your kale and allow them to go to flower, then the flowers are a little bit like broccoli, like, so you can utilise the kale plants right at the end of their growing cycle and use those flowers as some nice food sources. Still picking nice young leaves, and the larger leaves, as you can see further down, were harvested throughout the winter. But this Nero kale is beautiful. When you've harvested the leaves, which you can see I've done right here, you cut one leaf off and other leaves come. So it's the plant that's so giving, and kale, as far as a winter food source, if you get the timing right, means that you can pick late autumn or early autumn, late autumn, throughout the winter, and early spring as well. So it's a longevity plant and provides you with so much lovely picking that it's one of my most favourite vegetables to grow is kale. Beautiful. I've also got some sorrel coming on down here, so I'm going to take advantage of some of my sorrel today. And these sorrel was in a different part of the garden last year, but I wanted to clear the way for some onions which are currently growing, some winter century onions. So I took the sorrel out, improved the soil, and moved the sorrel onto here in this box that I created using the lasagna effect, which is something I'm going to go into at some point this year. Lasagna effect, or lasagna raised boxes. So I hope you tune in for that when I come to have a bit crack about it. But today, picking some nice sorrel to go with me kale and me perpetual spinach there. So there's some lovely sorrel leaves, just really canny. And there's some more Sutherland kale underneath this little bit of protective cropping right here. And I just use anything to achieve the achievement of keeping me crops protected, like. So there's a little bit more Sutherland kale, which I've showed you before, but if you've not grown Sutherland kale before, go to www.realseed.co.uk, and it is one of the most hardy, hard-wearing, robust kales that you can grow. I've seen them snap in the winter under the weight of snow, and they always grow back and give you this. So there's some Sutherland kale there, and that's just a little bit of a mosey around the garden and have a little bit of crack about some random shit. And now I'm gonna go and do a few things I need to do. Welsh onions starting to grow back really canny. And I'll speak to you again on my next little bit of filming, like. Speak to you again soon. Bye for now.